So right off the top, I usually like to wait a little bit until we talk about the new project release with somebody, but Heavy Sun is something that I want to bring up right off the top that just came out on E1 Records. What an incredible mix of music. I mean, elements of reggae, heavy gospel elements. So I guess the obvious starting point, talk to me about what went into this new project.
It's a singing group, four of us, Rocco DeLuca, Johnny Shepard, Jim Wilson, and myself. We hooked up in Los Angeles and decided we would make a harmony singing record. Mm-hmm. Johnny is from the Baptist Church from Shreveport, Louisiana, so he brought that southern flavor with him. And he's a great organist and was choir leader, so he has great knowledge of harmonies. So that we decided, well, this is quite an interesting group of fellas. We co-wrote songs, and then we sang them in harmony.
And it sounds, I mean, like I said, just such a melting pot of different types of music. And you mentioned Johnny Shepard. How long had you had a relationship with Johnny? And was it from the gospel music connection at first, or were you guys just naturally friends?
It came, my meeting Johnny came through the gospel music out of Shreveport, Louisiana, because a good friend of mine, Brian Blade, an amazing drummer, his pops runs the Zion Baptist Church in Shreveport, Louisiana, and is a great singer himself. And I sat in with the band there a good few times as a guitar player, the church band and choir. And I met Johnny through the church. And I thought one day I might like to work with this man. So his term had come to an end at the church, and I said, well, come to Los Angeles and we'll see if we can get something cooking.
And you talked about sort of trying to enter a new dimension in sort of a spiritual way, in a sonic way. I wonder, was that the goal for the whole project or mostly for the title track, Heavy Sun?
It was a goal for the entire record to take in the feeling of church and gospel music, but try and bring it into the future. We're not all Christian in the band, and so we thought, well, let's bring the feeling of congregation and the spirit of singing together, and the singing of, the feeling of that the church provides, but to bring it to a new sensation. The more of a traveling minstrels of church, a church with no walls, let's say.
Right, interesting. So it's less of a physical space and sort of a sonic scape that you guys are creating, so to speak.
Yeah, that's it. The sonic scape of travel. The songs talk about travel under the heavy sun. In particular, talks about maybe a nightclub in some faraway dimension that no one's ever been to, like something in outer space that you might find where the spirit rises from the ground, from hurt to glory. And then Way Down is another song that talks about an imaginary city where, you can be bought and you can be sold in that city.
Wow, sounds like a place I'd like to be. It seems rare nowadays.
Well, in fast times, it's nice to imagine that these kind of places of utopia will exist out there somewhere.
No question. So when you're starting to get this scape, so to speak, in your mind, is that coming from the music you're hearing, or is the music that we're hearing coming from your idea, if that makes sense? Which one starts first?
Well, it started a lot with the organ. I've always liked organ records. When I was a kid, I was lucky enough to hear Jimmy Smith and Booker T and some of the forefathers of the instrument. And I thought, oh, what a beautiful sound. And it was a little bit of a forgotten sound in modern times. So to bring that back into focus meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
But we let the organ kind of guide us along, because Johnny is a great improviser, so he'd come into the studio every day a little early and start jamming, improvising. Wayne Lorenz and I recorded him, and then later that night we'd listen to the jams and cut arrangements together out of what Johnny played, and that turned out to be the spine to a lot of the songs.
So a lot of it is actually improvised, what we're hearing.
Yeah, the beginnings are often improvised, and those, having chopped those improvs into arrangements, we then work. Those arrangements then inspired a kind of feeling or a song title, and this is where Rocco DeLuca is really great, because he's a great lyricist. And we'd say, well, what about it's got a bit of an out of sight sound. So let's write something about going far out of sight, and so on. So we'd start with a title and a picture, then fill in the blanks from there.